Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Zoran, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here with you.
It is my pleasure. All right, let's jump straight into it, Zoran. What got you into the fantastic, yet maybe sometimes a bit stressful world of coaching?
That's a very good question. What got me into coaching is pure love of people. Before my coaching and leadership development career, I was in television and media production, and this was all about communicating, presenting, understanding people, asking good questions, being available, being very, very curious, and really caring about the information and the content. And then from there on, the life as it is took me to this field of coaching, and I discovered coaching through a beautiful circumstantial, process. And when my wife actually was reading the article in the magazine when one of the editors of that magazine hired the very first coach in US, and it was a big new profession that was unfolding. And that editor wrote a beautiful article about what coaching is, how it's linked to leadership development, how it's linked to training and evolution of human consciousness and people. And then she just gave me that article and said, this is something that you do naturally. And then I read the article and I was like, wow, like there is a profession that does exactly what I was doing for all these years without even knowing it. So that's how I got into it.
I like some of the points all of the points, but human consciousness is something I'm looking into lately. So that's very interesting. What's the problem that you help people solve now? Like, what is it that you are helping them achieve exactly, Zoran?
Leadership development and coaching really transformed and evolved throughout the years. And I think that nowadays we are living in a very complex world with the AI, digitalization, that is really going through a lot of organization nowadays. The complexity it's really, really prominent. And then the leadership models that we have at this moment in time are sometimes the obsolete leadership models from the past. And leaders do feel really overwhelmed. People generally feel overwhelmed. There's a lot of misalignments with the team, especially after the COVID, with hybrid working, digitalization. There are also communication breakdowns because a lot of people are under a lot of pressure nowadays. So there is a big gap between this leadership expectation and leadership capability. So what my organization really help organizations do nowadays is develop this leadership capability that is necessary for the world that we live in right now at this moment in time, and really understand how can we adapt, how can we regulate, and how can we really deliver on the results and the outcomes that is necessary at this moment in time.
How do you do? Because it's already evolving so fast, right? I had one of my guests say recently that he used to listen to audiobooks to get his training, his information, kind of his coaching as well. And I was like, now I'm just trying podcast, but more because things are evolving so fast. So books are very quickly not relevant anymore. A lot of them, because they are not like applying to the new technology. So how do you do that into a day and age of AI, Zoran?
Yeah, that's a really, really, really important question, because attention span of the people, as you said, is really shortening up a lot. We really want to consume information very, very quickly. But there is something that is really important for all of us, and this is our ability to slow down in the midst of transformational speed. And I like to believe that the way we slow down to be able to consume information and to be able to develop and grow ourselves is to understand something that we call in our organization the organic intelligence and adaptive leadership. And organic intelligence and adaptive leadership, for me, are the core competencies. When people understand the organic intelligence and how they're wired as human beings, what is really going on in their nature, what kind of wiring do they have in their nervous system, then people are able to slow down in the midst of speed and really put attention and focus to where they really need to put attention and focus. So when we help leaders or organizations develop and grow or consume the content and learn by listening podcasts and audiobooks, as you mentioned, and being in a digital content and face-to-face content, we really challenge them to slow down, to presence themselves, to become more awakened and aware, and then to choose wisely where do they put their attention and energy nowadays. Because as you know, attention and energy, it's the biggest currency of leadership and overall for people nowadays.
Who do you help with all this exactly, Zoran? Like, do you have a specific industry, company size, niche? When you say taking that leadership capacity to the next level, do you have a specific industry that you do that in?
I mean, traditionally, we work with the large global organization because we are quite systematic and systemic in our leadership and coaching development. We work with the complex matrix organization and environments. We also work with the companies who are going through transformation and change. We also help global corporations who are launching the new products and services, and they have to do it in no time. So they have a big pressure on delivering on innovation. We nowadays also work with the entrepreneurs within the organizations who are launching the new products and services, and also sometimes startups as well.
Yeah, that does make sense. And I like how obviously you can apply the systemic and systematic approach to the big corporations, to startups who are looking to reach that type of size. And
yeah.
when I see a coach with targets that broadly different in terms of like targeting, right? Decision makers, sales process, sales length, I can't help but wonder, how do you market? How do you brand? How do you get the decision makers, which I'm going to assume is like head of L&D or CHRO, head of HR, to knock on your door when you target both the big corporations and the smaller startups? What has worked for you, Zoran, I guess, to get leads?
Honestly, I mean, that has been a challenge, I think, for a lot of businesses in consulting nowadays. We're not the only organization who needs to consistently transform and adapt. What has worked for us the most, number one, was creating a content and adding value, meaning that in our enrollment process or in our business development process, we try to create assets, research, study, free content, podcasts, something that would really solve some kind of pain point for those decision makers. So, for example, if they're struggling with a hybrid teamwork, recently we had an organization who offered people free reins. They were able to work whenever they wanted to work, however they wanted to work. And then they realized that the team performance was not good enough because leaders did not know how to really lead hybrid virtual environments in the past. And that was a big pain point for them. And they wanted to pull organization and people back to office, people resisting because they didn't want to go back to office. For them, it was much nicer to work from the home, few days a week, spend times with their family, pick up kids from school, have social moment with the lunch and so on and so forth. So it was really big resistance of the organizations. So they were struggling. So how we approach this is by communicating to the key decision makers and holders what is the key content of, for example, the program that we run, which is Leading in a Hybrid World, and how can they use this content to engage with their workforce. So we offer something that is valuable, but free of charge, because nowadays, a lot of the content is free of charge. So I think when we offer something meaningful and valuable to people that really resolves that pain point at that moment in time when they need it, I see the engagement. If we just go ahead and try to sell, enroll, use LinkedIn and target, then people traditionally don't engage. That's one thing. And the second thing, we realized that nurturing relationship for us was really point number one, meaning that if we have somebody that is already working with organizations, like how can we develop and unfold this relationship so that we really partner with the organization, not only as external consultant who is offering the value, but somebody that this organization perceives as internal, somebody who understands the fabric of the organization, somebody who understands their way of working, somebody that understands the industry and complexities of those industries. So we show up as not vendor or external, but mostly like a partner in their team.
So I like this a lot. This is positioning, right? And this is kind of the messaging, which is we're going to be partners in this, which honestly in 2026 I think is key for consultants and B2B coaches. And that's
Yes.
great. My question is also, once we have that positioning and this messaging, right? What works for you to get leads? I don't know, to take random examples, right? Is it word of mouth? Is it website, SEO? Is it Google Ads? Well, what I'm trying to understand is we have consultants and coaches listening to us right now who want to learn from you, Zoran. What are you doing to, with that messaging, get leads through the door? What channels do you use?
I mean, we've worked with everything that you mentioned, from the SEOs to powerful landing pages to, we don't do LinkedIn ads. We do mostly advertising and marketing on LinkedIn, and to the sales navigator as well, reaching out to people that we are following. For us, it's conferences and events, to be very honest with you, online events and offline events. Online events, meaning that we are showing up and network with people and meeting them face to face or virtually, really getting their attention to understand what is our key offering and then fostering that relationship along the way. So in recent years, we invested a lot of time and energy in showing up at the key events to convert, inviting people to join us on those key events to convert. Sometimes we will invite people to be guests on our podcast as well when they showcase and feature their work in the organization as well. So I would say, it's a combination of different methodologies, and for different businesses, the engagement happens in a different ways. But once again, I would love to emphasize to consultants who are listening to this podcast, relationship, really finding the way to strengthen that.
Amen to that. How do you? So that makes a lot of sense, and I like the multidisciplinary approach, all whilst having the same goal, which is building those relationships. And that's what we preach on this podcast. So, amen. How do you go from this to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement? What does sales motion look like for you, Zoran?
Well, it will be probably inviting people to a free webinar, something again which adds value. And usually we will invite a group of HRC, HROs, and leading and development experts to come to a certain webinar on the topic. Recently, we ran the webinar, which is called Leading to the Fog. We realize that a lot of people right now feel like they're leading, but into unknown, and this unknown is just the fog, and they don't know where the fog is going to end. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you drive through the fog, eventually there is a clarity, and eventually you move through the space. And nowadays, a lot of people feel that this is not moving as quick as it was before. So the free webinar will be, for example, on that topic. Then we will invite CHROs and L&D professionals. We would get them to talk as well. It will not be only us presenting at them, here is a solution, here's how you need to do it. We will ask them, what is your experience right now? How does it look in your organization? Where are the key pain points? How do you struggle? And we realized that a lot of people like benchmarking. They like to listen to other people in the same situation. They like to learn from their peers. And then in those webinars, it will be mostly facilitated conversation from our end, when we add value by adding little nuggets of knowledge or information or best practices. So that will be the first step. After the first step, we of course have a sequence of emails or the phone calls, depends on how strong is that relationship, when we invite people into the discovery calls. And based on their interest in the discovery calls, then we will start talking to them, how can we make this relevant to their organizations. Nowadays, some organizations want to buy off-shelf products and services, which is very easy, because in our organization, we do have a portfolio of off-shelf products, but sometimes organizations do want to bespoke, they want to customize, they want to include their leadership model, their values, the leadership qualities, the organizational culture. So then we will get into the conversation of bespoking and customizing, and then hopefully that will convert. Or if it doesn't convert, then we will nurture that relationship until there is the right opportunity. Because sometimes people come back to you after 6 months and say, well, we were in conversation 6 months ago, now we have a relevant engagement and let's convert. But our process is always adding value, creating and facilitating communication and conversation, inviting people into the discovery call in a very non-intrusive way so that they don't feel that we're spamming them or bombarding them, having those discovery calls done, and then nurturing relationships going forward.
I love this. Tell me more about how you nurture those relationships, because I feel this is something that a lot of consultants and B2B coaches kind of lag a bit behind. Like, they get a lead or an introduction or a referral, they have the conversation. If it doesn't happen, they don't have this like systematic approach to nurture, send emails, get people to join the community, whatever it is. So how do you do this in your business, Zoran, so that 6 months from now, when the client is actually ready, they think of you and not of someone else, or not for potential other solutions?
I would say that there are two approaches there. One is that a lot of coaches and consultants do have to have systems and processes in place. I think that we heavily rely on systems and processes, building something that supports our team to be able to remember to reach out. So the powerful CRM system, the good project management system, when all of the data and information is stored, will help us with notification going forward. So for us, the system, it's really, really, really important. But then the most important thing is using your common sense and emotional intelligence to really tune into that human being and to sense when is the right time to engage. What we found out with all our closers and salespeople who are in ongoing enrollment process is that if you just send emails or communication just because it's on a to-do list, and now I know I need to follow up with company XYZ, it works, it doesn't work. If we sense and feel and ask ourselves question, is this the right moment to engage with this person? What's going on in their LinkedIn? What they're sharing at this moment in time? Do a little bit of research, understand the organization behind. Have they been traveling? What did they tell us last time? Did they say that budget is frozen? Did they say, well, now to the disruption of the market, we can't engage? Common sense in really communicating to people exactly how you would love to be communicated yourself, and using emotional intelligence to sense and feel when to engage. And when we do this in our organization, it doesn't work all the time, but I would say it works like 60% of the time.
Makes a lot of sense. Talk to me about the other piece that moves mountains for B2B coaches and consultants, Zoran. Retention. How do you, once you have that engagement, that initial project, that 6 months down the line, we are rock and rolling, how do you keep that client? How do you retain? How do you upsell, downsell? Not just keep on billing them, but keep on providing value to them.
Well, listen, in recent years in our industry, in our field, I would say that we are now in the buyer's market. What I mean by that, there is a lot of competition out there. I don't like using the word competition because I believe that we all work with the common goal. I always see all the competitors as collaborators. So I sometimes have to use the word competition just to kind of distinguish for people who don't understand. But there's a lot of collaborators. People are offering similar services. And for me, every client it matters that it's important. It doesn't matter if the size of the client is 2 million or 10 million euros or 100 euros. It doesn't really matter. The service has to be impeccable. So our standards of service is that we serve client to the extent that we do our best and we try to overachieve, and we always try to surprise by offering something that client will say, wow, we didn't ask for this, and look, this happened as well. So how can we over deliver? So that's one of our strategies. How can we over deliver in a good way, in a way that client feels, wow, I bought this service and I got much more than I really bargained for. Number two, it's how do we support people to be successful in their job roles? As I said, a lot of L&D professionals, HR professionals nowadays, due to the AI and digitalization, the headcount is shrinking, and actually they have more work and they have more responsibilities. And then if we add on additional layer of work onto them, it will be even more difficult. So we always ask them, what can we do to support you to succeed in your work? How can we now in this program going forward help you meet your KPIs so that you can get bonus if this is important for you? How can we help you to present the success to your key stakeholders and to your management, making them successful, shine? Return on investment is the next one. How do we measure? So we use different measurement tools and skills. Sometimes it's very difficult to measure soft skills, as you know, like to show that workshop presentation skills for the key management has impacted their ability to talk to the client, and therefore they managed to close 100,000 euros deal. It's not easy to measure because they've just used 10 strategies that we told them at the workshop to say, right? So being creative in measuring this return on investment and helping them present that return on investment internally so that people see that what they do really matters and creates the bottom line. Sometimes, as you know, business can be very hard and harsh on the L&D professionals and HR professionals. They always put them aside. They say, you're not really a business, your function that help us. But they don't really see the correlation between what they do and impact on the strategy, deliverables, and business, and so on and so forth. So we work with them to help them really showcase their success. What else we do to make them really feel, we really care. I think that when you show up as a coach in the leadership development industry, you do have to love people. On a deeper level, and people need to feel that you really, 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 really care. It's not something that you just do because this is your job and this is what makes you money and makes you successful. It's more like a deeper care, meaning, how are you doing today? How are you arriving to this conversation? How is your son? How is your daughter? How was your holiday? Caring, really, genuinely, not just saying this because somebody taught you. So when we mix those strategies with the quality of the work, understanding that we are as good as our last gig, and this is something that is really challenging for a lot of consultants, is that nowadays people really, really perceive them not only through the relationship, but also through the last result. It's like an actor, you act, and if your movie, it's crap, are you going to be invited to the audition once again? And if you really act well, how can you sustain this performance? So our strategy was always to do our utmost to deliver quality to people as well, and to really work alongside with them to make it successful within the organization as well.
I like the way you do business. Which is why I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball question at you, Zoran, because you've had it a bit too easy so far. What's your number one challenge right now? What's that one nut that you're trying to crack that once you crack, you're going to take the whole business to the next level? What would that be for you?
We have many challenges, like any organization. Our main challenge is this balance between the speed that AI delivers and being able to stay competitive, being able to stay relevant, being able to stay, to be able to add value. When I speak with some of our clients, future clients, I see them literally, the whole organization is on steroids. Everything is AI. I can read the messages that will come from Claude or from other AI chatbot. It's fast, and it's going faster and faster, as we said before. So our main challenge is, how do we really stay relevant in this rapid changing world? Can we stay relevant even if the AI takes over entire leadership development industry? Meaning that the good program AI can nowadays replace coach, it can replace trainer, it can replace interaction, it can give you the content that is customized and bespoke exactly for you. So that's one of the big challenge for us. The second challenge is what I call Uberization of coaching industry. I'm now going to talk only about coaching. And what I mean by that Uberization of coaching industry is that there are big players on the market who are funded by big hedge funds behind them. Yeah, I mean, I can talk names, but it doesn't really matter. People who are in industry, they understand who they are. And the price levels are dropping down. Like the quality of the delivery of somebody who is a smaller and medium consultancy organization in comparison to big organizations who are dropping the price by offering things at scale, it's a challenge, I think, for a lot of consultants nowadays. And that's why some of the businesses, are not able to sustain, because simply they get swallowed into this big pot of a company saying, we can offer coaching for 50 euros. And if you buy 100,000 packages, you will save 50% of your global development budget. So that's a big challenge for us. How do we stay relevant in Uberization of coaching leadership development? And then the third challenge is innovation. I think that every organization, including ours, has to innovate, but from the space of unknown, right? This is something that I see for ourselves. Like, how can we bring the fresh product and service that has not been created before, that is going to be relevant and not repeating the same old? Because unfortunately in our industry, when it comes to leadership model, leadership competencies, the way we deliver the content in itself, everybody's doing quite similar, this variation, but everybody's doing quite the same content. So the third challenge for us is to really, really, really stay cutting edge and to keep on innovating our products and services. And it's not easy all the time, honestly. It's not easy. Even if you are AIing the entire development and sit down in conversation with the AI and ask about innovation, it doesn't come from that. It needs to come from a different level of inspiration. That is also challenging. And for us, what is challenging is this global complexity. Just right now, we're recording in March 2026. We have global client base. The war between Iran, Israel, US is happening at this moment in time. The challenge is, how do you manage that disruption all the time, and how do you support your global clients through that? And because yesterday we had 10 programs in Abu Dhabi, today we don't, right? So the things change so rapidly. So how do we manage that readiness and adaptability to exist in rapidly unfolding and changing global landscape? So many, as you can see, I can go on.
No, so first of all, thanks a lot for the authenticity here, Zoran, and sharing this. I mean it. I think the mistake that a lot of B2B coaching consulting firm owners make is that they want to show only the good and the bright, right? But in 2026, I think we need to talk about the things that are a bit more challenging. And to be fair, I think this is a challenge that most coaching firms and even solo practitioners will be facing nowadays today. So thanks a lot for sharing this. How are you thinking about solving it? And here it's not to put you on the spot, right? It's more the coaches listening to us right now who have the same problem. If we take the challenge of, like, you have the bigger firms, the bigger players going down market also in their offers, right? How are you thinking about solving this? And the reason I'm asking it is, we will have people listening to us right now with the same problem. I think it's always interesting to hear from your peers how they are thinking about solving a specific problem that you're facing yourself. So, how are you thinking of doing that?
So listen, some of the solutions we kind of have and we brainstorm, and some of the solutions we don't. And I love that you're recognizing authenticity, because I like to be authentic, and I also like to speak that not only projecting power and confidence, and that consultants usually do, because this is expected from us. You problem solver, you come into the organization, you project your skill and competence and confidence, you impress people, they want to work with you and they want to buy your service because you're offering a service that will resolve their problem as well. But I also think nowadays the reality of all of us is that we need to be authentic and real. And authentic and real, it's when you struggle. And sometimes when you speak with the clients, you also tell them the struggle. I don't shy saying to our clients, listen, we need work. We're struggling at this moment in time. Our work volume has dropped. Can you refer us? Can you like what we do? Are you happy with our service? Instead of saying we don't need work, we all good, we all sorted. So I think the authenticity, it's really, really, really important. When it comes to us answering the question, how do we think about resolving this issue? I think that bespoke, boutique, quality offering is something that we are going towards, right? So when we engage in a coaching conversation or coaching sessions, instead of giving a semi-digested service which costs 100 euros, we will really sit with our key stakeholders and explain what will the more bespoke and quality-oriented service look like. And as we all know, sometimes when we go and buy a t-shirt in H&M or in Zara, it's really good. I like H&M, I love Zara, I have t-shirts from that, but I wash it 10 times and then I need to buy the new one. This is just the nature. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that this is what the quality of the service is, or quality of the product is. And when you go and invest a little bit more time, energy, or even money, in the long run, it pays off. In the long run, you get the result. In the long run, you create an outcome. And I think that people who are open to that will hear that. And our solution will be always to describe what quality really means and what service really means at this moment in time, and how that impacts the business bottom line in the long run, and how would that make them successful. Because if the HR and L&D person has to change the vendor all the time and they're not happy with the vendor and they're not happy with the quality, or the people they're servicing are complaining by saying, well, this was okay workshop, it's fine, it was, I got something out of it, but did it really help me? So, right? And then they have to deal with that knock-on effect of the negative feedback. So when we really, really engage and really offer and deliver, then people, as I said before, become successful in their own jobs. So this is our strategy. It's not easy. It's not always easy, because it depends who are you talking to, and it depends what is the organizational culture, basically. And then you will win and lose, so to say.
Amen to that. I'm gonna give one. So I think this is so good, Zoran, and I'm gonna double down on one thing, which is, so that small boutique consulting firm aspect. I think brand is the way people are gonna win in 2026 and beyond. And this isn't even new. I mean, when you think about the bigger consulting firms and B2B coaching firms, they have a big brand, right? So they have people coming to them, and I think this is particularly relevant for smaller boutique firms, for the very reason that some people, you don't need the whole market to buy from you. You need enough people to keep on growing. And that is probably most of the case, people who will vibe with you more than they would with someone else. But for them to be able to vibe and to relate and to be like, he is my coach, they need to see you. They need to make associations between you, what you stand for, your values, and what you deliver, which is the brand. And we touched upon a few things. I believe you have a podcast. That's one way, but there are many ways to build that brand. I think showing up at conferences, being in person, is for sure one. But you want to also have that scalable aspect of a brand. So content, great brand is, I think, one way to solve that challenge.
Absolutely. I would completely agree with you. And that brand, and I love the word that you mentioned, the vibe. I think it's also the frequency of the relationship. It really is. If you vibe with somebody connects with you and resonates on the same frequency, then the business is really, really possible. So, and I think people get attracted to different brands. And absolutely, building your brand, building your presence, knowing what you stand for, communicating authentically, it's the way forward with the branding as well.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Zoran, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
2 pages. One is tnmcoaching.com, like Thomas Nicholas Marcus, tnmcoaching.com. It's our main landing page on our main website. And then if they want to know a little bit more about myself personally, I have my personal website, which is zorantodorovic.space. On both websites, there's link to social medias and to our channels and blogs, and as you mentioned, podcasts. So that's the way how to engage.
We'll put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Zoran, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. We are now connected. This was an absolute masterclass. Thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders, Zoran.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be with you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.